2003, I set out to do a new aviation documentary about people who restored old aircraft and warbirds. I watched a lot of documentaries, and I didn't see those stories being told. And even when I went to air shows, the fans of warbirds and vintage aircraft didn't know the rich history that was behind getting those aircraft at those shows. They may have thought that you just go over to an old barn, pull out a biplane, oil it up a little bit, and start it. They have no idea that you sometimes have to go into the deep jungles and pull out a shredded piece of tinfoil and end up turning it into an airplane over a decade. What resulted in our efforts became The Restorers, and we released it in 2003, and it did okay. We got it on several networks and it even played in Europe and had some DVD sales. But there was a fatal flaw in the project, and even though I shot it on motion picture film, it was transferred to standard definition, which was much more prevalent in 2003. Transferring to HD was much more expensive than it is now, so the decision was made to keep it on standard definition. Now, 10 years later, the film is really starting to show its age. You could look at it and see the poor image quality. For being such a timeless film, the format really dated it. And because of that, the film is now unshowable, either on broadcast television, DVD, Blu-ray, or even broadcast on the internet. It's an HD world out there, and we simply had a standard definition film. The first step in a project like this is to dig out the old negative and have it retransferred to HD. So we had it shipped down to Cinefilm in Atlanta, Georgia, and they did an incredible job in transferring it. When I got the first footage back after it was retransferred, I was stunned at the quality that HD provided coming off a film negative. There were details in my own film that I hadn't seen before because of the transfer. It was amazing quality. One thing that was much more noticeable now was the film grain. You could actually see it on the monitor now due to the high quality of the transfer. And I'm okay with that. I'm an old film guy, and seeing that new texture kind of fit in with the old aircraft and restoring things from the past. To see that texture, it's more of a artistic tapestry rather than the clean digital world that we live in now. Another aspect to the image quality that I could do something about now that was much harder 10 years ago is doing digital retouching. And by virtue of shooting this on motion picture film, certain things are introduced into the mix, like dirt and scratches and debris onto the film. So as I got this material back from the lab, I was able to take the more heavily damaged shots, take it into the computer, and do some repair work to eliminate a lot of that debris and damage that you saw in the original film. Another aspect of the film is the enormous amount of archival photographs that help tell the story. In many instances, these photographs will be extremely difficult to find again for this 10th anniversary rebuild. The only thing I could do was to go back to the original storage of these photographs, 10-year-old hard drives. Fortunately, the technology exists that I can crack open these 10-year-old hard drives and retrieve all of those photographs for inclusion in the piece. In rebuilding a project like this, the other half of the equation would be sound. And with this opportunity, I was able to do a much better, cleaner mix of the soundtrack than I did before. This involved digging back into the archives again, went through all the old DAT tapes, hours and hours of interview, and rebuilt the soundtrack word by word.
I'm here because this airport is representative of an airport in the 1930s. It's a grass strip. It's got old Piper Cubs and biplanes, and it reeks back to a era in the 30s. It's basically a time machine.
And I'm very pleased with the result that I got. It's a brand new mix, and you can really hear the clarity of all the interviews, the background, the environment, and most importantly, the airplanes. The end result of all this is an old film that you can see in a brand new way, and with a better clarity of image and better quality of sound. I'm very pleased with it, and I hope you enjoy it.